I will call the meeting to order at 6:42 p.m. And we've gotten the minutes. Victoria and I just read them. You just sent them. Do we have any questions, comments, corrections for the March minutes? I will move to accept them as submitted.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright. March minutes accepted unanimously as submitted. Alright. And we move into the director's report.
Alrighty. We held our staff meeting on March 19th where we discussed the upcoming budget changes for FY26, including the probable reduction in our operating hours. We also talked about the long-range plan, the projects we're hoping to accomplish next year, mostly the repairs that we're doing capital requests for, and the reorganization of the collection and moving the spaces around, buying new furniture. And then I attended the financial committee meeting on March 26th. Actually, Lynette and I attended. On March 24th, the select board voted to support our supplemental requests. I know at our last meeting, the update was nobody's getting supplemental requests.
That's wonderful news.
But the select board got behind our additional staffing. So we went to FinCom and presented the reasoning behind why we need additional staffing, mostly so that we can stay open more hours. And after discussing, the financial committee voted to support the additional library assistant position. So, assuming that passes at town meeting on May 5th, we would have director at 33.5 hours per week, youth services librarian at 18 hours, our technical services cataloging librarian at 18 hours, and then 2 library assistants at 10 hours each. And I included the updated budget overview in the financial report, which we can talk about what those changes are when we get there. There's a town meeting information session tomorrow at 6:30, tomorrow, April 17th, where the select board and everybody who has articles on the town meeting warrant will be there to answer questions and to discuss the requests. So I will be attending to answer any questions about the library's budget and capital funding and our article to reappropriate our old capital funding. That discussion is at the Burlington office building in room 227 on the second floor.
Do we know if that will be streamed at all?
Yes, it will be on Zoom, and if people attend on Zoom, they can raise their hand and ask questions. It'll also be live streamed on YouTube, but I believe that if you're watching on YouTube, you can't.
You can't interact, right?
Hadley attended Hunter's Refresh Day on March 21st. That's the day that counts as a in-school day for students, but there's no classes. She was there with the Boylston librarian, Allison Bowker. They did crafts, they did little keychains, and they shared information.
That's great.
About upcoming events and our resources like Brain Fuse. And got some kids excited about the library. From what I hear, it was a great day.
That sounds like a great,
Great kids
program.
love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. They have other stuff too. They do like yoga.
Yeah,
that's
they have,
awesome.
Like coloring.
Yeah,
They have. It's just like a nice
I think that's a
mental
great
health.
thing that the school
A
does.
mental health day.
It's fun. Yeah. We had our zombie survival workshop on April 9th. There were 10 attendees,
Yay.
10 teens. I mean, a couple parents stayed, but just 10
So
of them.
there's 10 teens that will know what to do with the zombie apocalypse.
Yes,
happens.
they did first aid on bananas. We stitched up some bananas.
That's wonderful.
Wow.
I named them all. They like identified edible plants, and then they ran around with Nerf crossbows.
Of course.
Yeah.
I talked
Transferable skills.
to a few adults I know that were like, I wish I was a teen. I want to go to that program.
It's fun, yeah.
I feel like it would be
Sundays.
popular with adults too someday.
Yeah. And then we did our egg hunt this past Monday, the 14th. We did about 24 kids and their parents.
Mhm.
We tried to count a couple times and everybody was running around. So we estimated about 30 altogether is where we ended up with.
Oh, that's great.
But that was
That's a
wonderful.
successful.
Yeah. I think the last time I saw the egg hunt, there weren't that many people. So I was glad to see a good turnout. I was glad the snow
That's so
melted.
good. I know. I'm sure you were worried. Yeah.
But everybody had a lot of fun. And that is, we have some parents that volunteer every year to kind of put that together. They pack the eggs and come over. So that, it's the Muldoons. So we are very grateful to them for doing that every year. Tomorrow is the opening of our student art show. Hadley's picked up art from one of the schools and she's getting the rest tomorrow. So students from BMS and Tohoto, their art classes, will have some, I think we have sculptures and paintings and drawings and a bunch of different types that we'll have up tomorrow. The
Nice.
Friends will be providing some light refreshments. So the official opening is at 5 p.m. And then we'll keep all the art up through the end of next week. So through April vacation.
Oh, great.
Pajama story time is next Wednesday. And we'll have Star Wars reenactors because May the 4th is coming up.
May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Revenge of the 6th.
I didn't know about that one.
I think it's a new one, but that should be fun. There's there's a group of people that dress up like Star Wars characters and teach people how to use lightsabers. And love.
My
Ellie's
friend's
picked out some
dad
fun-
is one of them.
Oh,
Really?
yeah? That's
Yeah.
great.
It's fun. So that should be a good turnout, I hope. And then we have Barbara
Yeah.
Kessler from the Attorney General's office. She'll be here on April 26th. That's a Saturday. It'll be 2 p.m. At the 1870 Town Hall to talk about identity theft and scams that target seniors and what resources are available and where people can turn to for help if that happens. So I already talked to the Berlin Police Department and I'm going to share it on Facebook in the upcoming days and tag them, and the COA also knows, so hopefully we'll get the word out in a lot of places. The Bolton Library has invited us once again to attend the Showbrook Pride. We went last year. It was a lot of fun. A couple different libraries staffed a table together, did some crafts, handed out information about library services. So there are more libraries on the list this year, so it should be bigger and better. That will be on May 18th from 1 to 4 p.m. in Bolton.
Nice.
I forget if it's Bolton Town Commons or whatever
Yeah.
it's called. I don't know who exactly is going yet. I'm deciding that after town meeting is done and
Let's need to have a
my
place.
brain is free.
Oh, it's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a place where all the different libraries are getting together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it'll
one
be
thing.
fun. And then the select board chair, Peg Stone, reached out. She's working on putting together a ADA grant for the town. I think they submit it every year because we've talked about it before. But she's asked for a list of projects that we want to accomplish. So,
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
a bunch of things on the grant application with the
Mhm.
understanding that not all of them will be funded, but it's a state grant, so see what the state says and if they give money for it. So I put together a list and sent it to her. It included the improvements to the front door, adding an opener to this lower entrance, the walkway repairs, the parking area repairs. And those are all things that we're doing the capital funding for too, but who knows
It all helps.
what the final cost for those will be if additional money would help. And then in addition, we asked for signs for the various doors, so marking the bathrooms, staff offices, the off limits areas, the boiler room, the water heater. Changing all the hardware on the doors to be ADA compliant handles. And we also talked about maybe paving a path from this lower entrance or whatever way it goes around back to
Right, so you can actually.
to the
Yeah.
picnic area. So
Oh, right, so you're not just cutting across the grass to do it, yeah?
yeah, so wheelchairs could
Yeah.
go there and also be
Enjoy the
easier on
garden.
strollers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would be, I said I would bring that up with you all.
Oh,
would
that
be
sounds
something.
good.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, everyone should be able to enjoy the garden and the flower space and the
Yeah.
picnic tables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about, is it too much paving and, people's feelings on
Well,
turning everything to concrete, but I don't think it's too much, but
there's other
Yeah.
options too besides
Yeah.
pavement.
we also
you
I also talked about we could maybe just pave the area that's currently gravel like directly behind the building and make it like that kind of a picnic area. So
I feel like you've already got
There's
such a nice
options.
area right there.
yeah,
I think
So-
a little bit of non-permeable surface would
Yeah.
be the end.
and this
goal,
was just
yeah.
like a preliminary
Yeah.
list. There's
One of
still
the asks, yeah.
we gotta talk to the highway department about what they think the cost would be and what would actually be feasible.
Right.
But if there's anything else that comes to mind, either today or I think the final date is like June 1st or something. So just let me know or reach out to Peg and let her know
Okay.
if there's anything else you think of.
Yeah, and if any patrons have ideas, it would be great.
Yeah. And we got all of those ideas from both the facilities study and the town did an ADA self-survey
Yeah,
a couple
the
years
study,
ago.
yeah.
So those were all things that got noted in
Mm-hmm.
either or. Yeah, and I just included our stats, and March 2025 was the best month for our circulation since August of 2019.
So, back to the pre-pandemic. That's awesome.
Yeah, so hopefully that keeps up. We're looking pretty good for April.
That's
but
great.
We'll see. Yeah. So,
Yay!
All right. Do you have any questions?
I know last month you mentioned there was a grant that you applied for to see about maybe going towards the door too. So it sounds like you're just attacking it from several angles,
Yeah.
which is good just to see
as much
how
money
can
as
we
we can
get
get for
the
yeah.
entrance and accessibility funded in general.
Mhm. Yeah, well, and the more funding we get for that, like if we just got the capital funding, which would
Mm-hmm.
be fine, then at least we get to fix the door in its current state and make it a little bit safer and a little bit easier to open.
Mhm.
But if we get more funding, then we could maybe add the door opener or maybe
Right.
fix that second door, the swinging door, to make that also a little bit safer and more convenient for people. So
Mm-hmm.
the more money we get, the better we can make that entrance.
And then on the later horizon, I imagine there's interest in expanding one of the bathrooms to be made accessible, or not maybe because this expanding here is not far enough. There's not enough hallway.
Yeah, we
It's a
wouldn't
kind of
really be
bigger
able to do
project.
anything with the bathrooms
I don't
until
think
we
so,
get
yeah.
a bigger
Much bigger,
project.
yeah.
And also the other thing we have to keep in mind is I think it's something like once you do like 30% of the building upgraded,
And it has to be up
trigger-
to the code, the
everything.
current building code, which
Yeah.
would be a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's why we're trying to do kind of the easy things to
strategic,
do,
yeah.
quick and easy. Just replace some door handles and
I know
make
that
it better
having
where we can.
having the auto door opener seems like a really high impact item.
Yeah, I just don't know what's possible in the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
vestibule because the wiring is different in that area than in the rest of the building. So we'll have to talk to.
Oh, so you might have to get an electrician and yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'd have to talk to Fred about that and
Mhm.
see. But first thing is seeing how much money we have
Right.
and getting actual quotes for the door, putting it up to bid and see what people say.
Were there any other responses from the door? Were there any bids from the door, or was that just an
It
estimate?
hasn't gone out. Yeah, no, it hasn't gone out to bid yet. We just
Yeah.
contacted one. Well, we contacted a lot of contacts, and only one of them took the time to give us a number.
Yep.
So that's what we're working with right now.
How it
So we'll
goes.
see.
Yeah.
Hopefully it holds true for most of the other companies
Right.
when it goes out to bid, but we'll see.
Going back to updates about the finance committee, looking at the town meeting warrant, is the staffing expansion on here too?
Yes.
It's
It's
like
in the
which item?
budget.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's
so
not a
it's,
separate thing to vote on. It's
that's
just
why I
part
was
of our
looking for it,
budget.
and I
Yeah.
was thinking, okay,
So if you look at our budget, you'll see that our wages line goes up, whatever it was, $7,000, a couple $100.
Okay.
One of those.
Okay, so I see. There's the amount
That's
for
capital.
capital
Yeah, so-
improvements is there, and then.
No, I think you got past it.
I
Or,
have.
I don't know where. No, the budget's on the last page.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Let's go back. Okay, here we go. Different
Over here somewhere.
departments, human services,
Something like
library
the bolded.
wages,
Yeah.
income budget recommendation. Okay, I know. So here's the change. Okay. Nice. I'm like really excited. So if it passes, I'm very encouraged by that because I know it's been such a struggle to keep the place functional and safe for everybody at one time, and feel like you can go to the bathroom without, leaving the place. So
I don't know, I always feel like I'm gonna scare whoever's in the bathroom. Like I feel so bad. Like I come in and like Karen's been in the bathroom or something, and I'm just like I feel awful.
You're like,
Because there's nowhere for me to stand. Kind of.
Yeah.
I don't want to be out of the way because then when they come out and then there's like boo.
right.
You know, but I also don't want to lurk right outside the door. I'm
stand
like,
directly in Karen's
make
doorway
big noise
and
when I
just-
come in. I'm like,
Oh man.
but yeah. And then it's like you don't want to make them feel like they have to rush.
Mhm.
It's not ideal to say the least. Anything else?
I don't think so. Do you know about any canopy numbers? It's probably just kind of
not off the top of my head. But
Well, I
still-
know
it's
you've
still
been
not-
promoting it every month and everything.
Yeah,
So
still hasn't kicked off. But
yeah, everyone should use canopy. It rules. It's so fun.
yeah,
They have a
Sam
cool
is putting
selection.
together some more marketing materials, so we'll see.
They've got all these films and things that other places don't have.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Alright. I will move to accept the director's report as submitted.
I second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Accepted as submitted unanimously. Financial report.
The only thing I had to mention was that the second portion of our state aid grant came in. So that was another $5,481.53.
Okay.
Brings our total somewhere up a little over 10,900 couple dollars. So, if I did that math correctly in my head just now,
Perfect.
somewhere around $10,000. It's pretty good.
Was that the second part of one, part 2 of 2, or
Yes,
is it?
yeah, it comes out in 2 parts every year, based on the way that MDLC gets funding. Yeah, so that was kind of all I had to mention. I guess I will also mention that I found out today at the department head meeting that since we're asking to repurpose that old 2006 special funding, if that passes at town meeting, because it's not new fiscal year money, it's old money, we don't have to wait until July 1st to start spending it.
Oh, because it's already considered allocated.
We already,
and you
yeah,
just
we
put
already
it,
have the money.
You just put it in a different bucket,
Right.
and it's allowed to be spent.
So,
Okay.
they probably honestly still wouldn't buy anything until after July 1st, but we can at least
Because you
start
gotta plan it. That's good though.
Shopping.
thinking about things
Figuring
a little
it
bit.
out. Yeah, that's good.
So,
Excellent.
nice. Good to know. Or if something does come up, we can buy it right away. We don't have to sit on it. Yeah, and I don't know if you want me to talk about the updates to the budget now, or if you want to do that separate from just going over the changes with the.
Yeah.
I shared that spreadsheet with you guys. Yeah, so we went up in wages with the additional library assistant at 10 hours, and that was an $11,000 request. Offset a little bit by the fact that we're not keeping the 2 unfilled page positions, so it brings our total increase for wages to $7,127. And then to kind of play nice with everybody in the face of nobody else getting additional funding this year,
Right.
and budgets being tight all around, the town shaving off as much as they can in all departments. When we went to FinCom, we said, if we get the increase in wages, we will offset that a little bit with our expense request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it gets a little complicated for us because we have that minimum appropriations requirement from the state and our minimum expense requirement.
To stay
So-
certified.
Yeah.
Right.
So obviously we're above the municipal appropriation requirement. And then our expense requirement, we have to spend 19.5% of our total operating budget on circulating materials. So, we talked about if we go all the way down on balancing out our expenses, then we have to spend a lot of money out of our other accounts to balance that out.
Yeah.
So we found kind of a happy medium where our expense request actually went down by $322. So I won't get into all the math. It's on the spreadsheet if you want to try to figure out my crazy calculations, but we will have to spend a little bit out of our other sources, or maybe ask the friends to contribute a little bit more to meet what we are required to spend. But anyways, so our total request is an increase of $6,805 over FY25. It's $177,242. And I mean, basically we get a bottom line number, and it gets divided into two buckets: wages and expenses. So we break it out every year to show what we're spending things on and where we think we'll be spending the money, but it can move around in the expense line. So maybe we just don't spend anything on programming out of our operating budget, and then we can
Rely
spend it
on
all
the friends. Yeah.
Right.
So there's options.
That's pretty encouraging.
Would I love more money for expenses?
Of
Yes.
course.
But
Prices for things are always
I
going
would
down.
also love more staff, so we'll take that.
It's such a high impact thing to have those staff hours for patron experience and all the event planning. Like every event will be improved.
And I think this puts us in a good place for next year when we ask again for increase to youth services, and we're already in a kind of balanced position with our expenses, so hopefully it'll be easy to figure out next year too.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
That's where we are with that. I just wanted to update you also if questions come up at town meeting or anything. Obviously I'll be there to answer, but good for everybody to know.
Alright. Any questions about the financial report?
Nope.
I will move to accept it as submitted.
I second.
All in favor?
I.
Aye. And financial report is accepted as submitted. So I guess since this was new business last month, we did old business now. The hours.
Yeah.
Oh, hours, yeah.
So when you're doing the minutes, it will be under the old business heading. You could just say that we discussed our survey and this potential scheduling. Almost none of the hour stuff though, is it not? There's nothing pressing with this.
I think you can change them when you want to.
Well, no, I just mean like, should we wait and discuss this with Beth?
Well, so that's what I was gonna ask, is when I had kind of two thoughts that either we can discuss it tonight and I can we maybe figure out like what number we want to be at, and I can put together some various schedules that stick to 20 whatever hours per week, and we can decide at the next meeting what we want the schedule to be at, and then maybe that could go into effect July 1st.
Because that way we'll know that request was approved.
Yeah.
And we plan on the hours we actually
Or
have
I
to
would
work
say
with.
if we're not gonna decide on a new schedule in May, then I wouldn't want it to go into effect until September.
I feel
I
like
don't want
if
to
we
change
just
it in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
no. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like Beth should kind of be here. Well, I mean, even though she's. We have a new trustee
That's not
starting.
Right.
So the next meeting is supposed to be
After town meeting.
Beth's last meeting and
Mhm.
the new trustee, if we get one's
Right.
first meeting.
Because of the overlap
So
for the.
yeah. Did you get a chance to look at them at all beforehand, or
A little bit. I think. What was when you were compiling all this? Do you have what's your gut sense of?
Yeah, so I can go through how I about it, because I know there's a lot of information.
I really
Yeah.
like how much breakdown, and I like to see the different models of
Yeah.
what the options
So
are.
nice. So obviously we put the survey out.
Mhm.
It's still out. People can still take it.
okay?
We ended up with 39 responses altogether. So after we put that out and started getting those responses in, I started looking at the towns in Massachusetts
Mhm.
that are plus or minus 1,000 population size of Berlin. Little asterisk that that's based on a quick Google search, and I didn't fact check the exact,
Still, I've never
based on a list
seen.
I found.
I've never seen this actually compiled this way in such a digestible way between all the libraries. So thank you.
So looked at their websites and saw what hours they were open, and also tried to figure out if I could see how many staff members they had. Obviously, I don't know how many floors all of these libraries are on and what their
Right.
staff schedules, how often all of their staff work. So some caveats with that, but and of course everybody varies from 15 to 38, 39 hours per week, so all over the place, but mostly it seems to be around 20 to 25,
Mhm.
with some outliers, and an even split between who's open on Mondays and who's open on Fridays.
And no Sundays except for one library. Yeah,
Sheffield's open on Sundays for a couple hours.
that's actually surprising. I would. Yeah.
And then Saturdays tend to be 3 hours.
Yeah.
A couple of them open
Mhm.
10 to 4, which good for them.
Like children's activities mostly probably. And
Yeah, some people
Okay,
close in
yeah.
the summer. Somebody did the first Saturday only. I think it's on another library at some point that was like every other Saturday. So
that would be so complicated.
that's a whole other
Yeah,
conversation.
that's-
Yeah.
Anything that alternates, like when the moon is full, libraries.
So I took that. I looked at. We started tracking our hourly visitors. So then I took all of that and put together all those example schedules. And I do a range of 23 to 27 hours. I started with the example schedule that I liked from the hours comparison that I did. I'm not really tied to any of the actual hours that I did.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to give examples of the overall, this is what 27 hours a week could look like.
Mhm.
I would just in looking at them, I like the 25-hour one.
Yeah.
For like the Monday through Thursday, the only thing I wouldn't mind seeing is something like a little bit later on Saturdays to make that 27 hours maybe, or if you just,
So the other thing about Saturdays is that
because on the survey we had
Yes.
58% of people want to come in the afternoon on Saturdays.
yeah, so we could move it back. I would be reluctant to make it longer because our visitors for Saturdays vary so widely.
Yeah.
Sometimes everybody shows up in the morning and then we don't have anybody. The rest of the
Right,
day,
I remember
sometimes
that
nobody's
feeling,
there
yeah.
until 12:30.
In terms of kids, like I know
Yeah,
that all their sports are over at noon.
right.
All the Berlin rec
So if you
stuff is
were-
over at
Yeah.
12 or 1. That's why I think so many people said they'd come between 1 and 3 is because,
So instead
spring,
of 10,
summer, and fall.
Yeah.
Winter, there's no
I
outdoor
also-
sports, but
Karen's mentioned that I think it used to be later And then when they asked people about the schedule, people said we want to come earlier on Saturday. Like
Yeah.
Saturdays are just hard.
Yeah.
You can't lose everybody, but
So
like,
I
I
would
open till
definitely
2.
be open to doing like 10 to 1 or what? No, 10
That's
to 1 we do now.
like
11 to 2 or 12 to 3.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want to. I don't know if we can just try making it longer right now.
Yeah.
Because that's also the day that, I try to be here at least 2 Saturdays a month, and
Yeah.
usually 3. But otherwise, it's only 1 staff person
Right.
on schedule at a time. So if we make it longer, then that's just more time that somebody is alone. Unless we did a much shorter week and
Right.
have people come in on Saturdays more often.
I like the comments about nap time in the survey.
Yeah.
Sure, like it was like they said there's more children's events when it's not nap time, but then I was like, when is nap time?
It's
Well, it
usually
depends on
like
the-
11 to 1.
Right.
Is
So we
typical
yeah,
nap because yeah,
like lunchtime and then nap time.
it's usually some when they're little. I mean, there's usually more than one nap. You usually have like a 10 to 11 or 10 to 12 nap, and then you get another one like 1 to 3.
Yeah. My only definites looking at this, we're doing earlier Mondays because that's when we do story time. So
Yeah.
people come in earlier.
Yeah,
for that,
no, I like the
and doing
shorter-
later Thursdays.
Shorter Monday, Wednesday, I think is great with the longer
Yeah,
Tuesday,
Wednesdays can
Thursday.
definitely be
I really like that. And I think that 2 to 8 is great because that
I love the late
accommodates
the teens.
the teens because they get out of school at 2:15.
So it's like the folks who get off work later have a commute. For adults, it can be
Yeah.
Thursdays till 8, but then the teen room can also be till 8, which means you could.
Yeah.
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 Like your parent can spend time upstairs while the kids spend time downstairs.
Yeah, the other thing I will say about our survey results is there's definitely good responses in there. A lot of people say that they show up on Wednesdays, which is our least visited day. So
So it's like self-reporting versus the stats.
well, no, I think it's just the sample population is a little skewed.
right.
Yeah.
So, maybe we didn't get all of our regular Thursday visitors to respond or
You
something.
get
I
all
don't
your-
know. So
yeah.
just,
Right.
grain of salt. It's not
Yeah.
not to dismiss them completely, but just keeping that in mind that it is only 40 responses.
Right.
And I think a previous time you'd mentioned that the times that things circulate, but then you were wondering about when auto renewals happen.
Yeah, so I think I've shared that with you guys too.
Yeah.
So that chart includes initial checkouts and desk renewals. So people
Mhm.
come in and we manually renew something.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
It
So
doesn't.
it has to be time that the library's open by definition. That makes sense.
So obviously, and that was, I think, the chart I included. I forgot what the timeline of that was, but it might have been a few years, or at least a few months. Probably months looking at the number, but obviously a lot of checkouts on Saturdays, but that also could mean that one family came in and checked out $20 at a time, and
Right. Yeah.
it skews a little bit in that.
Right.
Because the other thing is that when we track who comes in, we're not tracking if they came in and just checked out and left, or if they came in and hung out for 2 hours doing a program with Hadley.
Right. And read a whole bunch of books and then only ended up taking home one.
Yeah,
Or...
so there's only so much you can do to really. We're
Yeah.
never gonna have the
No.
perfect ideal schedule, especially if we have to cut hours, which we do. But
Do
Yeah,
you
it's
measure
certainly-
in-house use with reshelving and stuff, or don't bother?
no. Yeah, there's not.
There's like no right answer
Hadley
with that
will
either.
sometimes check things out that she's gonna use for story time, and she wants to make sure they're not gonna get claimed by somebody else.
Mhm.
But
So in terms of like when you're doing the schedule, like Monday, Wednesday, the hours are the same as Tuesday, Thursday. On that, is that
yeah,
just
that's what most libraries
Like,
are doing.
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
yeah.
Kind of what I went
no?
with.
I just didn't know like if
And Tuesdays and Wednesdays are our most popular days for people to be here in the evenings. So it makes sense
Yeah.
for both of those to be like the evening days.
or Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, whatever I
Like,
said.
yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are.
yeah. I just didn't know if shortening.
Because the trend for late hours for other libraries is like often Thursday and then
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday more than
Right.
Wednesday.
And then I did include that schedule that had 3 hours. or 3 days.
3 days. Yeah, I
a
don't
week,
Right.
love that.
Yeah,
think
and
that
it
would be
wasn't
more-
a popular choice on the survey, but
I think it would
it
be
is an option
confusing.
for having longer days rather than 4 shorter
If it was
days.
me, I would be like, which days are the library open? And then I would come on Wednesday and I'd be like, no, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, and I would just be constantly answering questions.
Right, and the only reason I cut out Wednesday is because that's our slow day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think most libraries that do 3 days do maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I would stick to 4 weekdays plus Saturday, but
Yeah, I think that works.
just wanted to put that out as an option.
What do you think about opening at 11 a.m. any day? Just because I saw this.
Open now.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it's
because that's why it's 0, because it's like the time slot for circulations of
Yes.
10 to 11, and I was like, no
Yeah.
one's.
there's
It's not a very popular time, but it's because.
they're open at 10 on Saturdays and 11
Yeah.
all the other days.
Oh,
So-
right. I see.
So,
all that's on
um,
Saturday. Circus. Okay.
I mean, yeah, even if you kept it at the 25 hours, if you just did 11 to 3 Monday, Wednesday, and then took those 2 extra hours, but you don't want the longer day Saturday. You just
No,
you
I
just
don't,
try
I
to
don't
keep it
think.
3 hours. I just feel
I
like
think
it
we're
should
always
be
gonna have
like
people
I
saying that they
even
want-
like I just know
Different
too, like,
Saturday
I've
thing.
never been able to get here on a Saturday ever because the kids and sports and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
like
I would be more inclined to keep the weekdays longer.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you know, when
I
we
just think shifting Saturday a little bit.
I
would
would, yeah, I'm definitely open to shifting it. I just that could also making it longer could also be something that like if and when we can add more hours to Hadley's schedule or make the library assistants 15 hours instead of 10 hours, then maybe
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
And
Hadley's
even, like, if
full-time,
we
that could
switched
include
it-
her being here on Saturdays and then there's somebody.
Yeah, even if we made it like 12 to 3 and then
Yeah.
nobody came, we
Right.
could put it back. But I think if we had any kind of programming on Saturdays and it was 12 to 3, it might be more well attended.
And we usually do
'cause-
programs on
Yeah.
Saturdays. I like
Like you expand outside the hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the other thing with this is that, well, obviously I didn't include myself on here, but I would be here when the library's
Right.
open and
Yeah.
longer on the days that
yeah,
we're not open. And then we can do programs outside those hours if it
right.
is, you know, if it seems like a better fit for whatever program we're doing. But yeah, no, I would definitely be willing to push that to 12 to 3. Saturdays, yeah.
I do think like the easiest to convey schedule is important. Having just spent a lot of time today trying to explain to all the students when we're closed for Easter break and how, what the rules are for what. You will spend so much time just explaining your hours to people, so if you can.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be a period of confusion.
But I'm really excited about like the 8 p.m. and I don't know, just having. I'm just excited about the teen space being a thing overall, but
Yeah, we're still figuring out what that will look like. But
and like the more time that staff can overlap, the more you can like check in with each other and see, rather than only having to rely on like a staff meeting from time to time. You can-
yeah.
Yeah,
And this would let us have a staff meeting without having to close the library.
Right.
We can just do it Monday evenings or
Mm-hmm.
afternoons. But yeah, like I was talking with Hadley today about what the programming schedule will look like in the future and all the things that, how do we get enough programs to serve each kind of age group and interest and
Mm-hmm.
how they can't do that on 18 hours a week, but
yeah,
if people are overlapping, then one of the library assistants can do a program.
And
Yeah.
it's neat to have things for different ages to do simultaneously because people have different age kids and.
All right. So the only other thing we need to do tonight is to vote on the long range plan, which we've gone over in the past. So
Yeah.
is there anything that you knew you needed to change?
Because there's no.
Because I feel like we went over it and we made
Yeah.
suggestions.
Yeah,
and that's
You
all.
already have a copy or?
I have.
Yeah, you
many
have it in
copies.
your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was no
Doesn't
real.
make
There's
sense.
no big changes from last time because I flipped through it, but I think.
No, it was just like
Yeah.
little
Dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. No, I think it looked good.
I will move to. What are we accepting it? As-
Approving?
Approving it, yeah.
Approving. I move to approve the long range plan.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I
That's
said this before. I did reach out to Beth, but I didn't hear any feedback. So
Yeah. I feel
so
like
I
most is
will.
good news. So yeah,
I will
we'll
submit that to
approve it, so
the
it's
NBLC.
ready for submission.
They will. I believe they'll let me know that it's been approved by them, accepted by them, and I'll work on the annual plan.
Okay.
For
So I'll say motion to approve.
The LRP for submission.
And then they get submitted to the
NBLC.
to MBLC.
Approved
Yeah.
unanimously. Alright.
And then the meeting, I was wondering if we could just review what I ought to say so that
Oh,
then you can
town
have the
meeting?
floor. Yeah.
I believe it'll be printed on a
Yeah, you'll have
piece
a
of
little
paper. The
note
motion
card
will be
that you'll
written out
read.
for you.
Oh,
you have to
wonderful.
use specific.
Exactly.
wording.
Yeah.
You
In
have
like
to-
Robert's
you're pretty
Rules of
much
Order.
read
Yeah.
what-
You're,
is
yeah,
in
you're just
the
basically
town
gonna.
warrant.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I can just
Yeah.
It's
Meeting will-
it's at the
number
beginning.
3, right?
Because yeah, we're pretty early in the program.
So
I move the town vote to transfer
Yeah.
to fund all costs associated with interior improvements. And then do I have to read the description?
No.
Nope.
So you read the motion, and then I believe I'll double check tomorrow, but I believe somebody from the select board will second it.
Mhm.
And then
They'll
the
open.
moderator will say, will ask you if you want to explain it. At which point you can say no, but the director will.
I'm gonna say I'd like to bring the director up to discuss it further.
Yeah. I will take the mic and tell people we're buying furniture.
But so would I move to,
No.
or I would?
No, you just say I'd like to welcome the
I
director.
would like to welcome. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome the director to the floor to discuss it.
Yeah, the same way it works in meetings, that somebody makes the motion, somebody seconds, and then it opens for
Yeah, they open
discussion,
it
and then
for discussion, yeah.
To
No, there's no
the
discussion, it goes to
floor
For discussion.
for discussion.
Perfect.
And then being a non townsfolk, you would be then allowed to speak on it. Okay.
yeah, I have to be invited.
Um,
And then after I do my little
What is
spiel,
the
then
meeting
anybody
is
can come up to the
To the mic
To
to
the mic
comment,
and- yeah.
question.
Hopefully we'll get all the questions cleared up tomorrow, but we'll see.
I feel like it's a very reasonable ask.
Yeah, you never know what people are gonna.
Yeah. So
Latch
they will
onto.
want to discuss
Yeah.
things.
Can I jump back to the hours?
Oh,
for a
yeah, of
second?
course.
yeah, sure.
What would you like the next steps for me to do to be? You want me to stick with the 25 hours and
I think
do a
of
couple?
all of them, I liked the 25-hour one the best.
I agree.
I would like I said, the only thing I don't see that I would like to see is just a difference in hours on Saturdays.
Yeah,
Just
and I
'cause-
just didn't update that because it wasn't my.
yeah,
I had it in my mind that we might change those, but I was just kind of putting there as a
Yeah.
3-hour placeholder.
placeholder. Yeah, yeah.
and this is gonna be like iterated.
And again, it's
yeah.
not set in stone.
Yeah.
Like if it doesn't work, we can always go back to the 10.
Yeah, totally.
You know.
And we can just discuss it any meeting. You can bring it up, and then we can agree, and then change it any
Yeah.
month, right? So.
Um,
And then a new trustee might have some feedback opinions
Yeah.
about that too.
so are we thinking changing hours this summer or this fall?
I'd say fall.
I mean,
Well,
the
Or
summer.
maybe
I think the
wanna have
summer is
some-
fine
Okay.
because we want people
I
to be
would
more
wanna have-
engaged in
yeah.
summer reading.
Yeah.
And
That's
those
true, yeah.
commuting parents, because like I said, there's that
Yes.
middle grade kids that get to go home that don't have a nanny or a babysitter to take them to the
Right,
library,
yeah.
and we want everybody
And I
to
will
be able
say
to
that
participate.
with all the vacations that happen over the summer,
mm-hmm.
having
People are gonna
reduced
be in
hours will be
there.
easier on the staff.
Yeah,
when
no,
somebody's
I
out.
think
And I'd like to have the schedule set and operating before
So yeah,
we
you
hire
wanna-
somebody else, so I can tell them what their hours will actually
Yeah,
be.
talk to
Not-
the staff. Do you have another staff meeting before our next meeting?
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna.
So yeah, talk to them.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody is okay with that.
I'll run it by them.
A little difference of hours on Saturday, and then at our next meeting we can discuss the changes and the staff's views on things. And then if that's good, I would say we could be
Yeah, I just wanted to
ready
make sure
to
we would
change
have
it
a couple
July
weeks
1st.
between voting on the new schedule and having that month in between. So if we vote on it in May, and then we have all of June to get the word
word
out.
out. Yeah, so it would
do all
be
the changes
effective.
and-
So it's not July
July
1st. All of a
1st.
sudden the doors are closed when people think we're supposed to be open.
Yeah, no, we'll have plenty of
Yeah,
time.
that's
And
what I
if
just
it
wanted to
doesn't
be
work,
sure.
July will be ours. But I think July will be fine. I
Yeah,
would
that's the thing.
anticipate that
Yeah.
it'll be fine by
Or if we
then.
even vote on it in June and then change it mid-July, and
Yeah, I think that
that's fine.
we should be able to vote on it for the next meeting as long as you've got time to talk to the staff. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
a staff meeting. You can talk to them one-on-one.
Yeah,
And see if this like works for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can put together a couple different examples of what different 25 hours
Yeah.
could look like.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the next meeting scheduled is May 12th at 6:30. So that was good.
Still on it is the 19th. Yeah, the only thing about that is that it's town election, but
It's the same
Is
as
it-
election
the
day.
election is the 12th?
yeah,
Okay.
the election's always the week after.
Oh yeah, because it
Um,
says here.
Do it-
But
Can we
I-
do you want to do the 14th that Wednesday instead?
I think so because then we'll have the election results.
Okay, let's do that. So I will change it
May 14th.
May 14th at 6:30. That one. Alright.
I'm just gonna change that in my calendar now.
And if we don't have anything else, I will move to adjourn.
I second.
Alright. All in favor?
I.
Aye, I was so tired. Meeting adjourned at 7:29 p.m.